This was probably the largest swift boat operation in Vietnam, to my knowledge. It was called Operation Silver Mace, and we had 13 swift boats. We had 240 Vietnamese Marines from the 6th Battalion and 10 UDT guys, Underwater Demolition Team 13, and we had 2 Seawolf helicopters. And we were all based on our mothership, which was the Westchester County, LST 1167, I think. And the ship was anchored about 10 miles off the southern tip of Vietnam. And our objective was to go into a river called the Dong Quio to search for Viet Cong. We were only really supposed to have 12 swift boats. The 13th boat was PCF 43, and the skipper was Lieutenant Don Droz. And the UDT guys climbed onto his boat and brought with them about 1,000 pounds of C4 explosives to be a part of the operation. And Captain Hoffman, who was the senior skipper for all of us, did not want Don to go because his boat couldn't maintain as high a speed as the rest of us. It was really, the boat needed some TLC. And Don Droz argued with the captain and said, my boat is okay and I want to go. And he kept that up, and finally Captain Hoffman said, okay, yeah, I'll let you go, but you insert that UDT team at the first insertion point in the river and then you exit. And so finally they gave us permission to get underway. It was about 5 p.m. We had to go in when the tides were as high as possible because the mouth of the river is shallow. Once you get into the river, it's deep. So here's 13 boats going in to this river mouth, all stretched out with 20 Vietnamese Marines on the first 12 swift boats and the UDT guys on the last one. And I'm third in line. And the first 2 swift boats hit sandbars and got stuck for a few minutes. And my helmsman, Jim Hoffman, watching a fathometer, just made a slight S-curve around him, and watching the fathometer maintained deep water, and we were headed in, and now we're first. And I kept looking back outside the pilot house to make sure that other swift boats were staying with me because I didn't want to be in that river alone, and I was kind of scared about being first. Just after we got into the river, the radio came on, and the officer in tactical command ordered the first 5 boats to beach on the left side, and we did. And all our Marines then jumped onto the beach and set up a defensive perimeter and then ran into the jungle to make sure that there weren't any Viet Cong waiting for us. And the other 8 swift boats continued upriver. Now Bill Schumendine, who was on PCF 5, is now in lead. And PCF 43 continued upriver. He either ignored the order or he forgot that he was supposed to stop and exit. The officer in tactical command was really kind of unusual. It was a Coast Guard commander. And we'd never had a Coast Guard commander in charge of a swift boat operation. Which is even stranger is that he'd only been in country 2 weeks. So he was a newbie. We called him Cherry. And so he was on PCF 31, probably in the middle of this eight boats. And what they were going to do was called a pincer strategy. We're going to offload, we've offloaded 100 Vietnamese Marines near the mouth of the river. They're going to go further upstream and offload another 140. And these guys are going to then do a sweep. And if our intelligence was correct, we'd have the Viet Cong in the middle. And the swift boats would then offer gunfire support or prevent a river escape. And the Seawolf helicopters would launch off of the LST, come in, and prevent an escape in the back. So it sounded like a great plan. Well, a half hour after these 8 boats went upriver, I started hearing gunfire. and then explosions. And then all of a sudden the radio came on, and then people were screaming and yelling and talking over each other. The radio discipline was absolutely non-existent. So we knew that an ambush had started, and it was a horrific ambush. That B-40 rockets and Claymore mines and recoilless rifles and 50 caliber machine guns and AK-47s were all just pouring onto these guys. And what is remarkable to me is that after the first couple of boats were being hit, the other boats behind could have stopped and pulled into the bank short of the ambush, but not one did. All 8 boats wanted to stay together, and they all were going through this ambush, and they were just getting raked, one after another. Bill Schumedine's boat, PCF-5, was the first one to get hit. A Vietnamese Marine on the fantail lost both of his legs right at the pelvis. PCF-51 took a B-40 rocket into the main cabin and another one into the engine room, and it killed the quartermaster, Thomas Holloway, and they just barely made it out of the ambush and ended up tying up to a tree just beyond. PCF-43 was lagging behind. So all the boats had already cleared the ambush by the time 43 got there. They immediately got hit by a B-40 rocket right into the pilot house. It killed Don Gross. And the next B-40 rocket hit the chest of the only hospital corpsman we had on the operation. And his name was Worthington, and of course he was killed. And so now the boat is still going with throttles all the way forward and out of control. And PCF-43 just veered to the left and went right into the middle of the ambush.